Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. If you're new to my channel, my name is Taylor and I come to you from Baltimore, Maryland, and on my YouTube channel here I generally feature content that's focused on knitting and spinning. I very much like to invest in raw wool fleeces that I wash and scour to then comb and spin into yarn to knit garments. I'm currently wearing a hand spun garment that I've knit myself. All of the colors used to make this project were dyed by materials that gathered in my local area, and I then combed and spun into 2-ply yarn. I used a Kate Davies design for this one. It's a nice dolman sleeve, knit from the bottom up, but that's maybe more detail than you needed to know. The pattern name I cannot even recall, but Kate Davies has a lot of great designs over the decades long career, and that's what I'm wearing. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get started with the knitting content, I wanted to dedicate this video to an amazing organization doing incredible work here in Baltimore, and it is known as Black Women Build. I think also Black Women Build-Baltimore, although who knows, maybe this is happening in other communities as well. I'm going to read from their website just so that you can kind of know a little bit more about them. It's an organization I am planning to donate to today, as it is June 19th, now a federal holiday. I was very much hoping to get this video uploaded sooner than now. However, you know, the fight against white supremacy is more than a day long. A holiday is not going to repair centuries of damage to our country's culture. And so recognizing and uplifting organizations like this one that are doing good work, as I said, I think are crucial to just continuing that fight. So blackwomenbuild.org has listed on their page their values, and they are that Black women deserve to be treated with dignity for their inherent worth as human beings, of course. Their mission is to increase home ownership and wealth building initiatives that train Black women in carpentry, electrical, plumbing, and restoration of vacant and deteriorated houses in West Baltimore. And their methods are that they understand that oppression is experienced at the intersection of identities, conditions, systems, policies, and practices. Therefore, they address barriers that impact the ability of Black women to thrive. And their goals as an organization are to bring home ownership to Black women in Baltimore, to train women in to train women in trades-related skills through home renovation, and to create wealth and build community by dismantling the barriers that work against their ability to thrive. And as a homeowner myself, as someone who is generally reclusive in nature, my home is my sanctuary of sorts. It is important to me, and it is important to the work of uprooting white supremacy and racism in our community, in our nation, to make sure that that work continues. So I encourage you to make a donation yourself if you wish, if you are able. If not, no pressure. If there's a different organization similar in your own local area, do please consider making a donation today if possible, or some other time that maybe you're better able. And we'll just get right into what I have to share with you, which is the projects I've been working on. You know I love this project bag, and it's the one I continually use for all things. And in my most worked on project, which I'm not easily able to show off because it's on what, a 32-inch cable, and I'm working the yoke, which is much more than that. It is another version, a new version of Kate Davies. Again, I guess I'm a super fan, but to be honest with you, she just publishes the most basic, simply written, I mean, her pattern writing I think is ideal because it uses few words, but it's also quite clear. So I really enjoy her pattern writing style and method. but it is a top-down raglan shaped it's a top-down raglan shaped design, and I'm increasing for those sleeves. As you can likely see, those are the raglan shaping. I wish I could expand this for you. I didn't think to put it on a larger cable. But I am currently using Elsao Wool's fingering weight 2-ply cormo yarn. They're woolen spun light gray fingering yarn, held double with Isegar's silk mohair in the color number 6. Here is a close-up of that skein. It's this gorgeous kind of rosy, dusty rose taupe. And here is the gray fingering. So this is the same yarn I was using for that Andrea Mowry Daydreamer cabled V-neck sweater that I baled and turned into a heating pad cover. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, I talked about it in my previous podcast episode. I will link to it so you can check that out. And I cast on and started this pullover. It is one I'm considering making into a cardigan. I haven't quite decided yet, but it would be as simple as throwing in some reinforcement stitches, sticking up the center, and creating a button band. So it's something I'm thinking about. The first time I knit this design, I heavily modified the sleeves to be a bell shape sleeve. I'll link to that video also, so you can check out my first variation of this pattern. I very much like to knit patterns that I purchased multiple times, because once you learn to modify things slightly, you can kind of turn one pattern into as many patterns as you want by just simply modifying it. So that's what I plan to do with that. And then I've made some progress here on my Rowe cardigan. This is the back panel. And these large cables, they look a little wonky until you've kind of worked through them enough that you can kind of block it out. So it looks a little strange, but I don't think I've made any real mistakes yet. It's just, I think it's gonna come together with blocking. It'll look a little bit neater. So this is the Rowe cardigan. This is kind of a long-term project. I'm gonna say it's a long-term project because I really only work on a cable chart design when I'm sitting quietly at home or in public where I have a lot of time and attention to devote to something specific. If I'm on my lunch break and I have 15 minutes to knit, I don't even reach for this, to be honest, as much as I'd like to, because it takes a fair bit of time to recognize where I was on the chart and pick up from where I left off. And I hate making mistakes with cabling, so I'm being very careful to reserve moments of calm for this project. So I have made quite a bit of progress on this during my lunch breaks, and outside of that I haven't really had any time to make anything. I spent time with my in-laws last weekend. That's when I worked on a lot of this project here, and then other than that it's just been I don't know, exhausting maybe sounds too negative, but the heat takes a lot out of me, and I've been in a little bit of a flare-up of my inflammatory condition, so I just haven't had the energy to knit at the end of my day. I haven't spun any yarn since the last time I recorded a podcast for you all, so I have no updates there. I know I mentioned to you that I bought this Magpie Fibers yarn. I'm gonna reach for it right now. I got 2 skeins of this. It is so gorgeous and so soft. It is a superwash yarn, which you rarely see me buy on my channel here, just because I love the qualities of wool so much. I rarely choose an alternative to woolly wool, but I am designing a pattern that's worn next to skin with negative ease, and I needed to choose a yarn that I knew would be more, not accessible, but more fitting for that type of wear for more people. I want it to be inclusive to those who find itchier wools or woollier wools to be more itchy than others. So I want a really, really soft yarn for this project and to give a very straightforward substitution. DK weight superwash yarns are very interchangeable. Superwash yarns, if you're buying the right construction, meaning the same plies, the same weight, a lot of them behave similarly versus, you know, woolen spun yarns made by different mills, or woolen spun versus worsted spun yarns of the same weight. Those can be more complicated to substitute. So I wanted this project because it is form-fitting, and I want people's outcome, whatever projects they create, to be as similar as possible to the intended fit. I decided I would invest in superwash yarn. Luckily for me, this is semi-local, which is cool. It's a Maryland company. Magpie is based out of Frederick, which is about a 45-minute drive. I think it's 45 minutes from where I live. And I was too shy to like say, I know who you are. When I was in their shop, I like follow you on Instagram. So if anyone there ever sees my channel and thinks she didn't say hello, it's just because I'm incredibly socially awkward and I don't know how to like introduce myself a lot. I'd rather just be an anonymous customer like the rest of the world. So not that anyone knows who I am anyway. I don't know how to introduce myself. I feel very awkward. So I went to their shop. Magpie has a new store called Magpie Market. It's like right in the downtown area. And it's a gorgeous little shop. I didn't take any video footage because there were quite a few people there. I didn't want to ask and make a big deal out of it. But their store is really cute. I bought also while I was there this cute little notebook. The brand is KLEID, Clyde Stationery, and I like it because I can slide my pen along the side and it kind of fills that little gap between the pages and the cover, and it just has a simple little twisty thing. And the pages are this micro, I don't know if you can see it if it's a little too blown out, but the pages are micro grid, which is really nice to write into. I'm always a little anxious when I start a new notebook because I'm afraid to write in it and like ruin the pages. Does anyone else have that anxiety? I've also been gardening, and I'm going to take you on a quick garden tour to check out what I'm growing. And I keep looking out into my window because that's where it is, but I'm just gonna interrupt this recording to take you out there and show you what's up. So this is the space right outside my kitchen, and I am still growing last year's collard greens. I plucked 2 of the 4 plants out of this bed so I could plant into it this year. Right here I have a jalapeno pepper and a black Hungarian pepper plant there. A couple of nasturtiums in this box. These collard greens are still holding on through the aphid infestation, and maybe I'll gather some seed. We'll find out. But my black-eyed Susans are starting to blossom. The calendula has exploded all over the concrete. And we have here some dino kale and some red Russian kale, as well as raspberries galore. Raspberries are ripening every single day. It is almost impossible to keep up with them. And my echinacea's in bloom, so they're gonna start busting open and getting some colors soon. I forget exactly what these are, but it looks to me like a tansy. I can't even remember what I planted here. And I have the same plants, jalapeno and black Hungarian peppers growing in the ground here. These are kind of falling over, but they're doing quite well. I have little rosemary in the shade of this giant chard, which I need to kind of cut back a little bit. And my peas were a bust. I really do try to grow peas, but I'm not very good at it, to be honest. My cucumbers are starting to take off. I have 2 blueberry plants in this bed here. One right here. I don't know where this bean is coming from. Oops. This bean needs to make its way over to the trellis here. Okay. Where was I? Oh, so we have 2 blueberry plants. This one's putting out some fruit. And there is the shishito pepper plant, and on the other side here behind this giant chard plant is my Etudia pepper. Looks like one of them is starting to ripen. Very exciting. I might get 1 pepper out of that plant, I think. But all right, now over here I have some stuff to clean up still, and a bunch of random things that are a bit of a mess. This is my little lemon balm patch. More black-eyed Susans. You can see that they get these aphid infestations that are a bit crazy. And then this one's getting a little bit of mold on it. It just gets too much shade. It doesn't get enough sunlight to keep that mold from taking over. So I'm thinking about, I like having something versus nothing, but I think before too long I may cut these back and just compost them or something. My nasturtiums are exploding in this bed. I have more kale and more peppers. This is the Etudia and the shishito here. And the yard is a little bit of a mess. I need to I like blow all the mulch back where it belongs. We have a couple sunflowers. These gorgeous plants here are, what are they? Why is it escaping me right now that I'm showing it to you? Zinnias. These are a zinnia variety. They're like lime green. These ones I think are pink or red. And I have a few more. There's some little zinnias here. These ones are much shorter, and they're like this really bright yellow and red color. I'm really glad these sunflowers are doing well here in the yard. Beyond the raspberries, I have this giant St. John's wort plant that's kind of falling in on itself. It's so big. The bees are obsessed with this plant. And I just pulled all my lettuces out of this bed here, so all that's left are the kale plants that are going to seed. I hope to collect seed. I have some beans and cucumbers taking off, some oregano, some basil. We have our little pawpaw tree that is really growing big quickly. And I have under here a little lavender plant that is probably reaching for some sun. Our carciferous, is that the right word? Vegetables always get whitefly infestations, so you might be able to catch those on camera. But here is a mint variety and another blueberry. These are my coriander seeds growing on the cilantro plant. And we have more basil here, more cucumbers and beans, more oregano, another pawpaw tree. And in this corner, so from the raspberries and the St. John's wort, we have this little bird bath hidden where this came with our home, so I just tucked it in that little corner. We have blackberries galore. This is my other smaller and reaching sunflower plant. This one fell over. It's growing into the yard and then upright. And I don't know if I knocked this one over or what, but now it's really leaning heavily. Let's see if I can get a blackberry to hold that up. So we have a third pawpaw tree growing in the yard. This is a brand new blackberry cane. And we have some zinnia plants kind of peppered in this area. Some more kale plants. They're not really thriving, but what is thriving is this new black raspberry plant. I already picked a lot of the ripe berries this morning. You can see there's another one here. So good. This is a giant forsythia, which kind of gives a little bit of privacy. The last 4 weeks, my neighbors have had this trash piling up, and yesterday morning I saw a huge rat walk up my sidewalk here. I've never seen rats in our yard, even though I have been composting the last 5 years into these bins here. Stuff happening. Never had rats, and I saw this giant rat in the middle of the morning walk straight up the sidewalk. And it was because of that trash, because that trash had been piling up for 3 or 4 weeks. Those cans don't have lids. I turned them upside down after I poured them out. So right now it smells like total putrefied garbage. I spent my morning dumping those 3 cans that were half full of water, and I picked up an open bag of liquefied chicken parts, which was utterly disgusting, and I almost retched. But I rebagged all the trash, I put it in the cans with lids, and I hope that they might recognize the sacrifice that I made with my Saturday morning so that I could make a little recording of my garden for you guys. I hope I don't sound like I'm some self-righteous prick, but it was a hazard. It was hazardous waste at that point. So I did what needed to be done. I did what no one else would, and I picked it up. That is my garden tour. It is June 19th, 2021, and that is all. I want to thank you so much for watching this episode of the Thread to Men podcast series. Again, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I upload as frequently as I can these days. It's only on the weekends that I have a chance to sit down and record, and life gets in the way. Really miss my YouTube knitting community here, and I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and that you take care.